this idea of balance is giving people a ton of anxiety and making people feel really guilty and bad when they don't have it. Hello, welcome to Habits and Hustle solo episode. And today, I really want to talk about something that I don't believe is actually a thing that really exists. You know what that is?
What is it?
Thank you, Foil. It is balance. I think balance is such a load of crap because I believe it's really hard to have balance. I think that depending on where you are in your life and what phase and what's going on, certain things are going to take a priority to other things, and there's going to be a massive imbalance. I think when you're building a company and they say, well, just have balance. How do you have balance when you're in the process of building, right? If you are in the process of like transitioning and you're not in that mode, yeah, okay, you can then like work on the balance. But I think that balance, what it's doing, this idea of balance is giving people a ton of anxiety and making people feel really guilty and bad when they don't have it. So I'd like people to start being real and stop talking about balance and how we all have balance. And when you say like, how do you do it all? And the answer is, well, I just balance it all out and it's balance. Baloney. I call baloney on balance. That's what I'm telling you.
It's like the people who like run 13 miles every morning. Like, get out of here.
Well, there are people who run 13 miles.
That's a huge chunk of time.
That's a huge. No. What really drives me nuts are these ridiculously long, extensive morning routines that they're like, first I red light, and then I cold plunge, and then I work out, and then I journal,
and then I sauna,
and then I meditate, and then my morning routine takes me to about 3:00 in the afternoon, where I then have a shake, and then I make a light meal, and then do it all over again the next day. To me, that's what drives me crazy. These ridiculous morning routines that are so unrealistic for the majority of people. Like, give me a break, right? Like, to me, a morning routine is waking up at the same time every day and, moving your body, doing a workout that's reasonable. 45 minutes, I think, is a reasonable amount. Even an hour, I think, is reasonable. Having, one or two things that take you 10 or 15, 20 minutes and like call it a day. But these things that people go on and on and on, that's when like you're talking about balance when you're spending the majority of your day doing your morning routine. That is ridiculous. I'm sorry.
But they all call it their 5 to 9, but I don't buy that they get all of that done between 5 to 9.
I know. Well, that whole 5 to 9 thing is a whole other, say what it is, because
it's okay. So 5 to 9 is like this idea of everyone has the 9 to 5, but some people wake up at 5 and then they have a whole 5 to 9. But a lot of people act like they get like 30 things done between 5 to 9. And I just don't know how realistic that is. If you go and work out at a gym, you have to drive there, you have to park, you have to go get up, you have to, you know what I mean? Then you do your workout, you're working out for an hour, maybe a 10-minute, mobility warm up. Then you're stretching for 10 minutes at the end. Then you have to shower. And then you're done. Like, that's 2-hour session. Then you're driving home. You know what I mean? Like, no, from start to finish,
it's a load of garbage.
You're not getting anything done in that time.
You know what it is? It's like people say a lot of shit because it's like trendy. You know what I mean? Like, I find that people's even their hobbies, their habits, or whatever they're doing is because they heard other people that they follow or people that they look up to are doing it, so then they do it too. Is it actually the fact that they actually like doing it? Are they even doing it most of the time? Who knows? But the truth of the matter is that all of that whole like 5 to 9, this whole long day of the whole day being your morning routine is it's not sustainable if you are doing it. But more than that, it's just, then how do you really have balance if you're spending 97% of your day doing that,
Yeah.
I'm talking the basics. I'm talking about balance in life, like work-life balance. That's the kind of balance I was talking about. I don't believe that's actually a real thing. I think that there are some times when work takes a precedent and it's hard to, focus on everything and do everything well at the same time. And sometimes, you have to put more focus, of course, on your family and your personal life. That's just what happens. It's like a tug of war. That's what real life is. Real life is a tug of war that's ebbs and flows, that zigs and zags. It's not always water leveling out. I just think that we put too much pressure on ourselves anyway. I think that's setting ourselves up for failure. I think it's setting us up for anxiety and so many other mental health situations when we believe that we should be balanced because that's the hashtag of the decade or the year. That's my 2 cents.
No, I agree with that. I think also, like, when you get older, I know you think I'm like a baby, but
You're 12.
I am 30. And as I've gotten older, I've realized how much more I need to prioritize. I need to prioritize rest. Like, I can't, like, when I was 20, I could go party and then like do school because I had time to sleep during the day. I didn't have a job. Do you know what I mean? Like, things were different. It's easier to basically have that kind of like, oh my God, work hard, play hard. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I gotta say,
I can't really. Like,
oh gosh,
I don't know.
You're an old man at 30.
What do you mean? I need rest.
With no children. Let me tell you something.
Do you go clubbing? If you go clubbing on the weekend,
no, but I'm 107 years old. This is what I was going to say. Okay, like I do believe. People are
just
young.
A retirement home.
Yeah, I know. Honestly, like I should call the old folks home down the street and get you a bed or a cot.
I'd love to.
Honestly, you're like exhausted, just constantly kvetching how she's tired, hasn't had enough sleep.
Move me in.
Yeah, I know. Honestly, that's a whole. By the way, that is a whole other solo. We could do a whole.
But wait, okay, but I had a good point here. So what I was saying is that like if you are building a company or doing a lot of work or whatever, you have to then prioritize resting. So you can't like have this whole work-life balance where if you're working 18 hours, then you're all of a sudden like going out at night and having a social life. That's just so not realistic.
Yeah, it's not real. That's my point.
Know?
None of this is realistic. There is a big distinction between what is realistic and what is just, jargon because it suits the ether or where we are in our life or a culture. I think there's a major, major distinction between the two. I'm just saying it this is what I believe. And you can disagree. You can kick and scream and yell. I just think it's something that I think we as a group of people, we fall into these, catchy hashtags and then we try to live by them, which is so unrealistic. And what happens is it just spirals and backfires on us. And that's what happens. So take the pressure off and think like, it's okay that I'm hardcore in work right now. It's okay that I'm like, can't focus on that work right now. And I got to really focus on whatever's going on in my personal life. Guess what? That's called life. That's all.
Wait, okay, question for you.
I know, join the Facebook group.
No, yeah, we'll definitely do that. But hold on, I have a question for you about this. So do you have a message for people out there? Because I think you're really ingrained in the fitness world. And a lot of people see these people who have, 0% body fat, whatever, 5% body fat. And they don't realize that to attain that actually requires literally no balance. So
100%,
what's your message
that's
to that?
a great example, right? And I think to me, what happens is you're giving the wrong messages out there. That people who are like, oh yeah, I just wake up and I work out and I drink my green shake and I have this. You know how much dedication and zero balance goes into having that six pack and that hard body? You know how much lack of balance goes into that? That means very little are you socializing by going out for meals. That means your social life is down the tubes, basically. And if you do go out for dinner, you're bringing your own food in a container. That's what you're doing because you're not going to let the restaurant cook because of all the added calories and fats and all the other shit. So lack of balance in the fitness business, when you want to look a certain way, is vital. So that's the first thing. You got to make everything in life, those choices, right? You got to make a choice and choose what's important to you and what you're willing to give up for whatever that goal is. That is the reality of things. If you want to have a six pack and you don't, there's going to be things that you got to give up to get that done. And, if you want to, how about like run 100 miles? You want to run or a marathon? Forget about an ultra marathon.
Yeah.
If you want to run a marathon, how many hours you have to train for that? Like nothing comes easy or without a price. Nothing does. There's no such thing as balance. That's my point. If you want to start a company, if you want to like train for something, if you want to be really good, if you want to be excellent, like really excellent in something, there requires things that you have to give up in your life to maintain it or to even get to that point. Nothing happens by just like doing a little bit. And, you can get better at something. You can progress 100%. But if you really want to be exceptional, you're basically, you're diving in full force on something with zero balance. Initially, at the beginning of the podcast, I was just talking about an imbalance. Now we're talking about if you really want to go hardcore and be amazing and extraordinary, there's zero balance at a cost that is very high, which means usually no social life, no personal life, no friends, loneliness, and that's okay for some people. Which, by the way, I'm not saying none of it's okay. I'm saying all of it's okay. But just know it's a choice you make. And not to be somebody who has to fall prey into what people tell you what you should do to have a happy life of balance, because it's baloney.
Yeah, we're falling prey to then you having all of these negative talks in your head where you're thinking, well, I work out just as much as this person says they do. I have the balance they say that they have, but yeah, I don't have that physique. Because a lot of times, they're posting about, oh, balance is important. I eat carbs too, but really they don't. If they have a six pack, if they're doing this, they're sacrificing a lot more than they're opening up about.
By the way, I think there's something to be said for also where someone's baseline is, right? Some body types, for sure. Right? Sometimes body types they can eat different foods and they react differently. They digest it differently. Their body responds differently. There's so much that goes on. There's so much science that goes on things like that. That really is a whole other podcast. And
that is a whole other episode.
If you guys want to hear more about that, I'm more than happy to share it. Just guess what? Leave me a comment so I know. I'll talk all about that because that's a big one.
And if you guys ever have any questions or topic suggestions that you'd like to hear Jen talk about on the show, please drop it in the Facebook group. Thank you. Which you can join. And we are now at 100 and something members. Woo!
Oh, wow. We're crushing
Yes, we are cooking with gas, as Jen likes to say.
Cooking with fire, I say too.
Oh, sorry, cooking with fire.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Have a great day. Leave a comment. That's my big thing. That's what I push. Oh, and if you guys have not checked out my book, Bigger, Better, Bolder, please do. I think that it's very valuable if you want to try to get to a place of being more bold, asking for what you want, chasing the life you get. There's a lot of great ways that's tactile and practical that can help you get there with a workbook. So check it out.